Hello and welcome to It's All About You, the best show about you on the internet. I am B. Dave Walters, writer, life coach, talk radio host. This is episode number 77. Q&A, year-end review. I'll think of something by the time I have to give it a title. But basically, I just want to look back on this year, talk about a couple things, and I've gotten some phenomenal questions submitted, which, as you know, hopefully you know, if you've been watching, and if not, hey, nice to meet you. You can ask me anything. You can submit questions through a website called FormSpring, form like membership form, spring like the season.me /B Dave Walters. And actually, if FormSpring's too hard to remember, you can find links to everything I've done, every other video, all the radio shows, all the articles, my website, on a website called about.me /B Dave Walters. So about.me /B Dave Walters. Okay? I guess I've been doing the radio for almost a year now, so I'm used to having promo spots right at the beginning. You know, like I said, but I've gotten some really great questions. But as of the time of this writing, or recording, I suppose, and I'm looking up my questions over here. Sorry, I have to look over here where they are. You know, this was a crazy year for me. If you've been following my work at all, I've kind of shared my testimony in the Making Miracles video and the Enlightenment episode and a few other places. But the first 6 months of this year were honestly some of the hardest times in my entire life, really. And it was by the grace of God, and I guess through a lot of hard work and luck, that things turned around substantially. So much so that here at this Christmas, like I said, Christmas was yesterday. I guess it's after midnight now, so Christmas was day before yesterday. I am a night owl. Was one of the best in my life. And I was looking under the tree on Christmas Eve, and I was like, I can't remember the last time there was that many gifts under the tree. So it's good to be able to spoil my kids, spoil my loved ones, and things like that. But I just want to say briefly before we answer some of these questions, you know, whatever you're going through, it is temporary and it will pass. I promise you, it will pass. So just keep your feet on the ground and keep walking. You know, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's really all you have to do. As I look back, I just switched to this timeline thing on Facebook. I don't know if you've done that yet. I mean, it's another change like anything. A lot of people don't like it when things change on there. But I think it's interesting to be able to go back and look at every single thing and go back across. Apparently, my profile was born on December 17th, 2009 is when I made this profile on Facebook. Unless this fan page is a little older than that. Hey, fan page plug, facebook.com /B Dave Walters. And B Dave Walters 2 if you want to become a subscriber on my profile. B Dave Walters and the number 2. And it's neat to see all the relationships I've formed and be able to go back in time and see when I met these people down to the exact post, you know, where it's like I became friends with so-and-so, I became friends with so-and-so, commenting on each other's stuff. And it's neat to kind of see how time has passed. And I would invite you, if you haven't done the timeline, you should do it, because look back at some of your previous posts and look at how much of it is repeating yourself. Because something I knew was a lot of people that are having really bad relationships have been having really bad relationships for 2 years. And some of the stuff has been broken records, the same posts over and over and over and over again. So I actually invite you to look back at your timeline and see how far you've come. I mean, have you come as far as you thought? Have you come far enough? Or maybe you got a little more work to do. So, hey, it's you. It's your record that you put out into the public domain, so it'll give you a benchmark to measure against, basically. Because if you see that you're still stuck in a relationship with that person that you were complaining about 25, 26 months ago, well, I think you know what I'm going to say. Either stop complaining or break up. No. I hear you. It's not that simple. You know what? Yes, it is. It is that simple. So, good things, a lot of blessings coming along. I was talking about Christmas and the meaning of Christmas on the radio last week, and you can find the links where I told you before, about.me /B Dave Walters. And it was weird. I got emotional. I started crying when I was on the radio talking about this. I guess I'm glad it wasn't a video, because it actually didn't sound as bad on the radio as I was afraid it would when I listened to the recording. But I got choked up because what I was saying is I was talking about the meaning of Christmas and the holidays is the number one thing I have And the number one thing I want for you is peace in my heart. And I can say that. I truly have peace in my heart. I'm not upset about anything. I'm not mad at anybody. I have problems, sure. But I don't really look at them like problems. It's just life. I mean, things come up and I deal with it. You know, and I have goals and things that I haven't hit yet, but I'm working on it. I'm on the way. I mean, that's life, you know, striving for the next thing. But you don't have to be dissatisfied with how things are. You don't have to be mad and upset about your life, how it is, to be able to build a new one. In fact, if you're upset and bitter about life now, it actually makes it harder to create something new. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Now, I have my job. For a long time, I thought I'd never have a job again. I talked to my wife about this. I openly declared once, I was like, I will never have another job. I'm only going to work for myself. But fast forward, add in 2 little girls and a down economy, I did what I had to do to support my family. And I've had a good time, been promoted, moved up, have some stability and some consistency that I really enjoy. It's like every other week I get paid. I'm like, man, it's time to get paid again, you know? Like, I'm used to, you know, the straight commission life where you might make $10,000 in a day and then not make anything for 6 months, you know? That's how that world works. So when I'm like, wow, they're giving me money again. It's still kind of amazing to me after 6 months of it now. But the reason why I bring it up is because I have this job and the stability and the security, and I know my family's going to be okay. I can do like much longer term things. I can pursue my writing, I can pursue my coaching, I can pursue radio and television and work to spread the word and reach more people through mediums like this than I could when I could only do things that were going to pay me immediately. Does that make sense? Because I was in a place that I was like, if this doesn't pay cash in the next 4 to 6 weeks, I can't really justify doing it. Like if I had a deal or an opportunity that somebody was like, this will pay you $100,000 9 months from now, I still couldn't justify the time allotment because I still had to make sure we had food and a roof over our head for those 9 months. Does that make sense? But now, you know, I can do as long as it takes. You know, deals can take as long as they take. We make proposals to people, and they take a long time to get back to us. But since I don't need that to live, it's not really that big of a deal. So the point I'm making, besides just the things that I'm grateful for, is that I am happy and 100% content with my life as it is right now. And it is because of that I can act out of that gratitude, that I can act out of that happiness, that I can act out of that just thankfulness to God or the universe for having blessed me so richly, that out of that is where I come from, and that's what I stand in, and that's why nothing bothers me. That's why I have peace in my heart. Does that make sense? I mean, I could tell you the things that I deal with on a day-to-day basis, and they blow your mind. You would think that, like, how can you deal with one of these things, much less all of them, and they don't faze me at all, and that is why I stand in and I act out of gratitude. And I am truly, truly thankful for you. And I pray to God for you every single day. Every day. I do that. So thank you for being part of my life. I really appreciate that. And again, whatever has you down, it's going to pass. Actually, one of 2 things. Either it's going to pass, or maybe it's not something to really be down about. You know, I cited the example of somebody I was talking to, and they were like, well, I'm depressed. I'm like, what are you depressed about? Oh, I just am. That's just how I am. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, I just get depressed easily. I was like, well, you know, you can change. And they were like, well, it's working for me. And I'm like, if you're depressed all the time, it's not working for you. Just saying, you know. So, I guess it's kind of a variation on what I always say about deal with it or fix it. You know, when you're confronted with a problem, those are your 2 options. Deal with it or change it. You know, it's just the same thing. If you got a complaint in your life, actually, it's not even a variation. It's the same thing. You know, deal with it or change it. You know, stop complaining, do something about it. It's kind of the menu. But The year's finishing on a good note. I'm looking to do some different things in the new year. Don't know how I'm going to apply it. I'm looking at what's the best way to leverage this time we have together on video. What's the best way to leverage the time we have together on the radio. What's the best way to leverage my writing, to continue climbing that hill and reach more and more people. So like always, if you enjoy this video or anything I do, any of the articles I write for BeliefNet or theexaminer.com, or anything I do, spread the word. Put it on your wall. Post it up on Facebook. Tell somebody, link it to them, message it to them, let's get that ball rolling. But I actually don't know how much time I have left because I hid my giant cartoon stopwatch. I wish you could see the size of this thing. So I want to answer a couple of the questions that I've gotten from formspring.me/B Dave Walters. And I don't read ahead to see what these are and think of an answer, so you're going to see this real time. As I read it, I'm going to tell you what I think. Do the ends justify the means, or does it really all depend? Do the ends justify the means, or does it really all depend? If you're one of my international brothers and sisters and you're not used to that saying about the ends justify the means, the idea is it doesn't matter what you do as long as you accomplish what you were trying to accomplish. That's basically what it means. Usually, you mean it in a good way, which I guess that really is my answer. Yeah, it totally all depends. It absolutely just depends. Like, for instance, if you need to feed your family, and so, I don't know, we'll say maybe during a natural disaster or something, right? For some reason all the stores are closed, and you need to feed your family because they're starving. And you break into the store and you steal food to feed your starving family. I don't think anybody would really knock you for that. I mean, it still might be a misdemeanor or something, but I don't think anybody would think you were wrong for doing that. But if your family is starving and you kick in the door of the house next door and kill them all to take their food, that's a little harder to justify. I mean, that's not exactly right. Does that make sense? So yes, it does completely depend. Completely. I mean, personally, my rule is very simple. Whatever you do, as long as it's not hurting anybody, including hurting you, then go for it. No problem, right? But if you're stealing from somebody, that is hurting them. Does that make sense? If you're cheating on somebody, that is hurting them. And that's hurting you too, right? And for the most part, I think if you have to ask yourself too often is what you're doing right for the sake of what you're trying to achieve, then it is probably not right. So to the person that submitted that question, if you want to give me more details, if you want to give me a more in-depth situation, then I can give you a more in-depth answer. But I can tell you, at least off the top, yes, it is highly situational, and it will always vary based on what it is we're talking about at the time. Next question. Dave, you're inspiring me. I'm new to your blog. Woo! I lost my friend Larry on Thanksgiving. I know he's with God, but I'm having a hard time. Can I believe that we will be together again or ever find someone who loves me as much? Okay, I'm going to read this again. Minus the part where they big me up. I lost my friend Larry on Thanksgiving. I know he's with God, but I'm having a hard time. Can I believe that we will be together again, or will I ever find someone who loves me as much? Well, two things. Yes, you can believe you'll be together again. I mean, part of the reasons why when people die, I don't really get upset about it is because I absolutely believe I'll see them again. I mean, there's a sadness of that being apart, but for me, it's like if I go on a long trip. Like when I go visit my mom and I know I'm leaving and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to see my mom for a while. That's kind of how I feel when people pass away. I don't really grieve too excessively. Most people that don't know me think I'm just repressing it until they get to know me a little bit better. And I'm like, no, really, I'm just going to see him again. It's just a long trip. Okay? And yes, you absolutely can believe that there will be someone out there who will love you as much. But don't be in too big of a hurry to find it. I mean, if you lost somebody who was very special to you just at Thanksgiving, which is still at the time of this recording was about a month ago, that's not much time. Especially if you were together a long time and they meant a lot to you. So allow yourself to completely grieve and complete that process. And it is a process, and the fact of the matter is it takes as long as it takes. And rushing into another rebound relationship actually makes it less likely that you're going to find love, not more likely that you're going to find love, because you're going to be looking for somebody to fill a hole or fix a problem And those are the wrong reasons to get into a relationship, and it automatically sets it up to fail, because you're going to be comparing this new person to the old person. Does that make sense? That's why even when you get out of any relationship, you kind of want to give yourself some time before you get into the next one, and even when you get into the next one, take it very slow. Because otherwise you'll find yourself in these situations where you're like, oh, well, he didn't used to cook steak like that. You know, she didn't used to fold the towels like that. What's wrong with you? You know, there's this unfair comparison. And especially when we lose someone close to us, you can oftentimes put them on a pedestal that another person cannot live up to. It's not a fair fight, because the new flesh and blood guy is being held to the standard of your memories of the old person. And if you've ever heard that saying that you never remember the day it rained at Disneyland, when we look back on people that we've lost, we tend to remember the absolute best of them in the absolute best way. And so you find yourself comparing the absolute best of one person to the reality of another person, and that's not fair for the new person. Does that make sense? So I'm sorry for your loss. Again, I believe you'll see him again. I believe you'll be together one day, and I believe that you will find love in the meantime. But for now, be with your feelings, be with your grief, mourn your friend, and then honor him by moving on and having your happy life. Because I can tell you, if there's somebody that you've lost who's going on, they don't want you to be sad because of them, and they don't want your life to end because their life did. Well, again, if you really want to honor them, honor him by moving on, and being happy, and being peaceful, you know, with the rest of your life. All right, let me check the time. Right, got time for one, maybe two more. Let's see what the next question is. If the key to the secret is to feel as if you have it now, then what's the point of manifesting? Is it the end goal to just make you feel good without having your wishes granted and thereby have your life be happier, or is there something more to it? Yeah, this will be the last one. Let me read this again. If the key to the secret is to feel as if you have it now, then what's the point of the manifesting? Is it the end goal to just make yourself feel good without having your wishes granted and thereby have your life be happier, or is there something more to it? The answer is both. Both. Because remember, as we've talked about before, all human action only serves one of two purposes. One of two. To gain pleasure or avoid pain. Gain pleasure or avoid pain. That's all any of us do anything for. Okay? I don't have time, because I'm running out, to explain to you the intricacies of that, but trust me, that's how it is. So, along with that, the things that you want, you don't want those things. You want how those things are going to make you feel. You don't want that car because it's a car. I mean, you can walk and get where you're trying to go, or you could buy a beater for $500 and still get where you're trying to go. You want that car because of the feelings that it elicits in you. Right? And so yes, when you use the law of attraction to get yourself into a state where you kind of harmonize on the same level with that feeling, yes, you're experiencing it now, which is what you wanted in the first place, and you're making it more likely that that thing can come to you. Honestly, for the same reasons that I was saying at the beginning of this video, that you don't have to be dissatisfied with where you are in order to create something better. In fact, if you're dissatisfied, you won't create something better. So if you're already in a place where you have that feeling, and you're in that place where you can have that gratitude for the thing, that's what will bring the thing to you. And while you're waiting for it to manifest, yes, you can be experiencing positive emotional states. Because other than that, it's going to be this longing, and bitterness will set in the sense of like clinging and attachment. You know, Buddha said attachment is the root of all suffering, and it's true. So again, the answer is both. You're doing these things so that you can have the positive emotional state now, and so that you can bring this thing to you. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm about out of time. My giant cartoon clock here is about to go off. You may or may not hear it. And again, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thank you for everything. Thank you for a wonderful year. At least what finished is a wonderful year, which is hopefully one of many, many more that we're going to have together. And you're great, and I love you. I will see you soon. Okay, bye-bye.